In this video, we're going to be looking at reflections on the coordinate plane. A reflection is a transformation which flips the figure over a given line. Okay, so we're going to take points and shapes and we're going to be reflecting them, so flipping them over a given line. Now, this given line is called the line of reflection. All right, the line that we flip over is called the line of reflection. The original object, which again, it's the pre-image, and its reflection, which will be the image, will have the same and the same size, meaning that a pre-image and an image of a reflection, those are going to be congruent to each other. They will face in different directions, however. Okay, when you reflect something, the image is gonna face in a different direction, and this means that the letters will be going in different directions, meaning that the orientation of the shape is not preserved. We saw earlier with translations that if you were to translate a figure, the order of the letter stays the same, so the orientation was preserved, but that's not going to be the case here when we do reflections. Now, a reflection creates a figure that is congruent with the original figure, which again means that a reflection is an example of a rigid motion. Okay, a rigid motion is going to create an image that is congruent to the pre-image. Okay, so let's try an example here underneath. All right, we have a triangle ABC, and we've got it already graphed on the coordinate plane over here. Okay, what we want to do is take triangle ABC and we're going to reflect it over the x-axis, so this axis right here. Okay, the notation for this, we have a lowercase r and then it says right there x-axis. That's what we're going to be reflecting it over. So this notation means a reflection over the x-axis. What we're going to do is draw and label our image as A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, so let's see what we can do to come up with that rectangle. Okay, so let's first start out with the coordinates, or a triangle rather. Let's start out with the coordinates of triangle ABC. All right, point A is found right here. So that's going to be 1 to the right and then 3 down. So 1 comma negative 3. Point B is 3 units to the right of the origin, which is going to be at 3 comma 0. And point C, from the origin, we have to go to the right 4 down 2, so that's 4 negative 2. Those are the coordinates of our pre-image ABC. Let's see if we can come up with the coordinates of the image A prime, B prime, C prime. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our points for a triangle ABC and reflect them over the x-axis. Okay, so right now, triangle ABC is primarily here in quadrant number 4. We see one of the points is on the x-axis. Right, it's going to translate, or excuse me, it's going to reflect over that, so it's going to be primarily here in quadrant number 1. We're going to start with point A, and all we're going to do is count up until we get to the x-axis. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so point A is 3 units below the x-axis. Its reflection then is going to have to be 3 units above the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, right here. This is point A prime. Okay, and the coordinates of A prime, it's 1 unit to the right and 3 up. 1 comma 3. B is right on the x-axis, okay? So it's touching the line of reflection, which means it's not going to go anywhere, all right? Point B is going to stay right where it is, and so point B is the same as point B prime, and it's going to have coordinates of 3 comma 0, okay? You can think of this as when you touch a mirror, okay? When you touch a mirror, all right, your finger and the image of your finger are touching the same point. Point C prime, well, let's find point C. We're going to count up until we get to the x-axis, 1, 2 units. So point C is 2 units below the x-axis. Its image, C prime, is going to be 2 units above. So right here, this is point C prime, and it's located 4 units to the right and 2 units up at 4, comma 2. All right, let's go ahead and use a ruler to connect these points. Okay, so we'll create line A prime, B prime. And again, point B prime was the same as point B since point B was on the x-axis. All right, and then I'll connect A prime and C prime. And finally, B prime and C prime right there. And there we have it. Okay, so here is our reflection, our image, A prime, B prime, C prime. And again, these are touching right on the x-axis because point B was originally located on the x-axis. Okay, well, write a general rule for a reflection in the x-axis. Okay, if you take any point x comma y, where is its image going to be when you reflect it over the x-axis? Well, we can come up with this rule if we investigate how the coordinates change for A and A prime, B and B prime, C and C prime. Okay, now notice for point B again, since point B was originally on the x-axis and we were reflecting over the x-axis, that it didn't change. Okay, so we're actually going to see how A and C changed. Point A was at 1, negative 3. It ended up at 1, positive 3. Point C was at 4, negative 2. C prime was at 4, positive 2. Okay, so notice that the x coordinate in each example stayed the same. So x stays right where it is. X stays with x, but it was the y coordinate that changed. Negative 3 became positive 3. Negative 2 became positive 2. Those are opposites. So x comma y is going to go to x comma negative y. And this again just means the opposite. Okay, so it doesn't mean necessarily that that's going to be a negative number. It's just going to be the opposite sign of what it previously was. So again, reflecting over the x-axis is going to take your point xy and move it to the point x negative y. In our next example, we're going to take our triangle ABC, which we've plotted here, all right, and now we're going to reflect it over the y-axis, okay, and again, the notation for that, lowercase r, y-axis, that means reflect over the y-axis, and again, we're going to draw the image of triangle ABC and label it as A prime, B prime, C prime. Let's go ahead and start with the coordinates, okay? So looking at our triangle again, point A is located at 1, negative 3, 1 unit to the right and 3 down from the origin. Point B is located at 3, 0, which again was right on the x-axis. And point C was at 4, negative 2, 4 units to the right and then 2 down. Okay. Let's reflect over the y-axis. Now this time, all right, your y-axis is right here. Okay, so again, our triangle is primarily here in quadrant number 4. If we reflect over the y-axis, then the image of the triangle is going to be primarily here in quadrant number 3. And just like we did before, when we reflected over the x-axis, we had to count how far we had to go until we got up to the x-axis. Now we're going to count how far we have to go until we go over to the y-axis. So starting with point A, we only have to move 1 unit to the left to get to the y-axis. Okay, so point A is 1 to the right of the y-axis. So the reflection of that is going to be at 1 spot to the right, or excuse me, 1 spot to the left from the y-axis. So 1 unit to the left, call that A prime. And what are its coordinates? Well, from the origin, we go 1 to the left and 3 down, negative 1, negative 3. All right, point B is right here. All right, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 units to the left. All right, and then we're going to go 3 more units, 1, 2, 3 to the left right here. All right, so point B is 3 units to the right of the y-axis. Point B prime is going to be 3 units to the left of the y-axis, and that's at point 1 to negative 3, comma 0. Point C is right here. How far to the right is it from the y-axis? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right, which means the image is going to be 4 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left. Call that C prime. And that one is going to be located at -4, -2. Okay, so again, we'll get our ruler out. We'll connect our 3 image points here, A prime, B prime, C prime. And we will see that the triangle has been reflected nicely over the y-axis. All right, let's go ahead and connect A prime and B prime. And then the last one I need is A prime and C prime right there. And there you have it. Okay, so again, this was our pre-image A, B, C. And this is the image of that A prime, B prime, C prime. Write a general rule for a reflection over the y-axis this time. So again, we want to see how do our coordinates change when we have a reflection over the y-axis. And again, we're going to compare A, B, and C's coordinates to the A prime, B prime, C prime coordinates of the image. So looking at A was at 1, -3. A prime is at -1, -3. B was at 3, 0. B prime is at -3, 0. C was at 4, -2. C prime is at -4, -2. Notice this time that it's the x coordinates that have become the opposite. Okay, so for your point x comma y, the x coordinate is going to become the opposite. And then the y coordinate stays exactly the same. So the point xy is going to reflect to the point -x comma y. In our next example, we're going to have some practice with reflections over the x-axis and the y-axis. And what we're going to do is start by drawing a triangle JKL. The coordinates of J are 0, 2, K is 3, 4, L is 5, 1. So let's go ahead and plot those points. And again, we're going to call them JKL. So J is at 0, 2. So I'm going to just go 2 units up from the origin. There's point J. Point K is at 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there is point K. And point L is at 5, 1. 5, 1 is right there, JKL. And use your ruler to connect those. Okay, there's J to L. There's K to L. And J to K. And there's our triangle, JKL. Great. What we're going to do with triangle JKL, we're going to draw the image of J prime, K prime, L prime, which is going to be a reflection of our original triangle JKL over the x-axis. Okay, so we're going to take this triangle, which again is primarily here in quadrant number 1, and then we're going to reflect it over the x-axis. So let's see if we can get the coordinates. Start with point J. All right, J is 2 units above the x-axis, so J prime is going to have to be 2 units below the x-axis. So right here, we can call that J prime, and it's located at 0, -2. Next, point K is 4 units above the x-axis. The image then is going to have to be 4 units below the x-axis right here. That is point K prime, and it's located at 3, -4. 3, -4. L is 1 unit above the x-axis, so the image L prime is going to be 1 unit below, and that's going to be located at 5, -1. Okay, so let's go ahead now and use our ruler, and then we will be able to look at the image after we reflect it over the x-axis. All right. And the second side, and our third side. There we go. There's our new triangle, J prime, K prime, L prime. Okay, and notice again, we just reflected over the x-axis. The x values, the x coordinates were unchanged, but the y coordinates became they're opposites. Okay, so here we are again. If we look at the letters J to K to L, but if we look at the letters of the image, J prime to L prime to K prime, notice that they're not going in the same order. The orientation was not preserved under this reflection. Okay, so that was the first thing that we were trying to do, reflect over the x-axis. All right, so we just created triangle J prime, K prime, L prime by reflecting triangle JKL over the x-axis. What we're now going to do is draw the image J double prime, K double prime, L double prime, which is a reflection of triangle J prime, K prime, L prime over the y-axis. Okay, so we're going to take the image that we just drew and reflect it over the y-axis this time. Okay, so if we recall from before, all right, let's get our coordinates here again. J prime we said was at 0, -2. K prime was at 3, -4. And L prime was at 5, -1. Okay, we're going to take these points now and we're going to reflect over the y-axis. So here was our original graph, and this is the triangle that we're reflecting, J prime, K prime, L prime, this time over the y-axis. Okay, so looking at point J prime first, notice that J prime is already on the y-axis. It's touching the y-axis, so it's actually not going to go anywhere. Point J prime is the same as point J double prime. They're the exact same point, so I can write the coordinates here of J prime as J double prime as well, 0, -2. Okay, looking now at point K prime, point K prime is right here, and it's 1, 2, 3 units to the right of the y-axis. So K double prime is going to be 1, 2, 3 units to the left of the y-axis. So that's K double prime right there. And its coordinates are at -3, -4. So let's go ahead and write those in now. -3, -4. And finally, we have to get L double prime by reflecting point L prime over the y-axis. So again, here's point L prime. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the right of the y-axis. So L double prime is going to be 5 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left of the y-axis. Right there is L double prime, and it's located at -5, -1. -5, -1. Okay, let's go ahead and connect those with our ruler. All right, L prime, L double prime, and K double prime right there. And then K double prime and J double prime, which again, J double prime was the same as point J prime because it was touching the y-axis. And finally, L double prime and J double prime right there. There we go. Okay, so again, we took our triangle J prime, K prime, L prime, reflected it over the y-axis this time, all right? And there's J double prime, K double prime, L double prime. Notice again that the orientation has changed. This was J prime, L prime, K prime, but if we go in order this time, L double prime, J double prime, K double prime, we've gone in a different order, so the orientation was not preserved. And again, looking at the coordinates here, all right, notice this time it was the x coordinates that became the opposite, but the y coordinates stayed exactly the same because we reflected over the y-axis. All right, so to summarize what we've just done here, we started with triangle JKL. We reflected it over the x-axis to get triangle J prime L, K prime L prime, and then we reflected that triangle over the y-axis to get triangle J double prime K double prime L double prime. Okay, so we reflected over the x-axis, then reflected over the y-axis. Question F is asking us to describe a different combination of two reflections that would move our original triangle JKL to J double prime K double prime L double prime. So again, how could we have gone from this triangle to this triangle with a different set of reflections? Again, we reflected over the x-axis, then we reflected over the y-axis. Well, I could have taken this triangle and first reflected it over the y-axis, where I would have had some triangle here, and then I could have taken that triangle and reflected it over the y-axis, or the x-axis. So doing the reflections in the opposite order still would have resulted in taking triangle JKL and getting J double prime K double prime L double prime. So again, our different combination of reflections, we said first we could have reflected triangle JKL over the y-axis, and then we could have taken that triangle and reflect triangle J prime K prime L prime over the x-axis. Okay, so that would have resulted in the same triangle J double prime K double prime L double prime. In our next example, they want us to draw the line of reflection which caused rectangle KLMN to reflect onto rectangle K prime L prime M prime N prime. What is the line of reflection? All right, so looking at the picture here, here is KLMN, and here is the image K prime L prime M prime N prime. Okay, and we can see here, all right, we're primarily here in quadrant number 3 with our pre-image, and the image is primarily here in quadrant number 4. Notice that a couple of the points here and a couple of the points here are actually on the x-axis. Well, the way that we went from this triangle, the pre-image, to this triangle, which is the image, is by reflecting over this line right here, which is your y-axis. All right, so I can easily draw that in there. All right, draw the line of reflection. All right, there we have it. Okay, but yeah, try to make it a little darker on my paper here so that I can see it better. But yeah, this line right here, all right, this is your line of reflection. Okay, the line of reflection is the y-axis. Okay, K and K prime are 1 unit away from the y-axis in different directions, just like N and N prime. And points L and L prime are 3 units away from the y-axis in different directions, just like point M and N prime. Okay, so since we have reflected over the y-axis, these coordinates are going to have opposite x coordinates, but the same y coordinate. In our next example, we have quadrilateral CDEF. We see it plotted right here on our graph. And we are going to draw the reflection of CDEF over the x-axis and label it C prime, D prime, E prime, F prime. Okay, so again, all of these points we're going to reflect over the x-axis. So let's start with point C. C is 2 units above the x-axis, so C prime is going to be 2 units below the x-axis. There's C prime. All right, point D right here. Okay, that's 4 units above the x-axis, so point D prime is going to be 4 units below the x-axis. Right here is D prime. Okay, and then after that, point E is right here, 2 units above the x-axis. The image E prime is 2 units below. And finally, point F is 1 unit above, so F prime right here is going to be 1 unit below the x-axis. Okay, so we can go ahead and connect those points now with our ruler. And then we will have the image of CDEF, C prime, D prime, E prime, F prime. And there we are. Okay, so there's our image reflected over the x-axis. And again, all of these points are going to have the same x coordinate, but they're going to have opposite y coordinates. All right, and again, the orientation of the two is different. C, D, E, F F prime, E prime, D prime, C prime. Okay, the orientation here is not preserved when you look at the ordering of the letters. Now we're going to create C double prime, D double prime, E double prime, F double prime by translating C prime, D prime, E prime, F prime 3 units to the left and up 2 units. Okay, so 3 units to the left, x minus 3, up 2 units, y plus 2. What will be the coordinates of point C double prime? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that translation first. Okay, so here is point C prime. Okay, we're going to translate it 3 units left, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 units up, 1, 2. Right here is C double prime, and that's going to be located at -3, 0. All right, let's get all of the others. All right, point D prime is right here, 3 units left, and up 2 units right here. So this is actually the same as point C prime. That's D double prime. All right, and then point E, 1, 2, 3 to the left, up 2 right here. There is E double prime and F double prime. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 up right here, F double prime. And now let's go ahead and connect them. All right, C double prime to D double prime, F double prime to E double prime, and then connect the others. And finally, and there we have it. All right, so we took our image quadrilateral and we moved it 3 units to the left, 2 units up, creating this new quadrilateral. In our last example, describe how you could move shape 2 to exactly match shape 2 prime by using one translation and one reflection. One translation and then one reflection. So here's point or figure 2, shape 2, and we need to get it to shape 2 prime. How could we do that with a translation and a reflection? Okay, well, notice here, all right, that they're not lined up. So I'm going to have to move this shape up this direction here. Okay, so I'm going to first just move straight up, and I'm going to count how many units. I'm going to use this point here, which is going to eventually match that point there. To get them even, I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Okay, so let's start by just moving up 4 units. So we can first move shape 2 up, not 2 units, up 4 units. And to do that, all right, we take every point x comma y, and since we're moving it straight up, we keep the x, but we do y plus 4, add 4 units to the y. So there's our translation, okay? And now, if I had that here, all right, so that point would be there. Now I need to get it to this point here, and I would do that by reflecting it over the y-axis. This point here is 1 to the left of the y-axis. This point here is 1 to the right. So then I would reflect over the y-axis. Okay, so first taking this shape and moving it up 4 units and then reflecting over the y-axis would get us right to shape 2 prime. Now I could have done that in an opposite order. I could have taken shape number 2 and reflected it first over the y-axis. All right, so this point would end up right here. And then all I would have to do is simply move it 1, 2, 3, 4 units up. So I could have first done the reflection over the y-axis and then moved the shape translated the shape up 4 units.